Hello again, and welcome back. Um, so straight to the point, I want to talk about procrastinating, and you've no idea how long I've been sitting here putting off doing this video. No, I'm only joking. Um, Procrastinating is a big issue, and it was certainly looking back to prior to having such an intense interest in the nuts and bolts of personal development and personal improvement, if you like. That phrase, procrastinating was certainly a pretty big issue for me in terms of having a very low threshold to put things off till another time. And it does seem a bit odd because even although imposter syndrome aside, if I look back with slightly more neutral eyes, if I zoom out a little bit, then I'm pretty satisfied with what I've achieved in my life. Things have obviously changed quite a lot recently, and the dust is still settling on that a little bit on what is essentially a very positive change in my life, I think. Um, but that will be what it will be. Um, and I think what's got me thinking about procrastination a little bit more has been the sort of change from out of quite a busy daily routine into being off for a couple of weeks over the festive period, sort of struggling to get back into my normal routine, and then sort of adapting to more of a working from home type routine. So things from that point of view are starting to settle down a little bit. It's still just feeling slightly on edge about things being a bit different, and certainly um, last week was kind of the first week where I was allowed to work from home to any great degree, which has been fantastic for work-life balance. But I did notice that my anxiety levels had just shot up, and I was really kind of struggling with like self-doubt, and was consuming a lot of energy just from thinking about what I was doing, and just feeling really tired. And I had noticed that there's been a little bit of procrastinating has crept back in again, depending on my energy levels at the time. I just wanted to kind of cast my mind back to when I first started really kind of reading into and listening to things about procrastinating. I think one of the first people I heard talk about procrastination was I think it was actually Ant Middleton. So Ant Middleton's stuff, if you haven't touched it, no matter what you think of Ant Middleton's opinions on world affairs and infectious diseases, um, he's got some pretty no nonsense, common sense stuff to say about personal development, personal growth. And again, he's someone who's coming from some fairly significant life experiences of what he's learned, through tough things that happened in his life to, issues around his own kind of personal behaviour to, I think was he, I can't remember if he was certainly, I think he was Paras, and then he was SBS. I'm not sure if he was also a Marine as well. I think he might have been. I'm not sure if he did the three. So hopefully I'm not doing him a disservice there. But certainly a formidable character, and he has obviously done very well off the back of the SAS program that he did, and he's written a number of books, most of which I've read, and they're generally pretty good as well. And his advice is quite actionable. But remember putting little things into play, like the example I always use when I'm talking about procrastinating is the kitchen bin, which I'm just looking at the talk. So how many times have you, just push the stuff down a little bit further, just push the stuff down a little bit further, to the point where it's absolutely jam packed, to the point where you can't get the bag out, or to the point where the bag's bursting, or there's all sorts of juicy goodness sitting in the bottom of the bin, and actually all it needed at some point was someone just to grasp the nettle and go, this is pretty full. It just needs to go in the bin, and take the lid off the bin, take the bin bag out, go out to the and it depends on your arrangement as well. Like where it's ridiculous when I think about any resistance to me taking the bin bag out when it will literally take me 10 to 15 seconds to walk out to the bin out the back of the house. But perhaps if you live in a block of flats or something, like your bins are, downstairs. It's a bit more of an investment of time, and there's a bit more barriers in the way. Still not massively concerningly significant, but still enough barriers in the way there for you to be thinking twice about it. Um, so yeah, I was trying to think back to some of the strategies, the reasons why we procrastinate, and some of the strategies for getting around it. And there's lots of reasons why you might not feel like doing something. You might put it off until another time. And I've already mentioned a couple of them as I've been talking. So energy levels can be one thing, or a contributing factor at least. So I know that I'm far more likely to defer something to another time if I'm tired, and I'm generally, I get pretty tired coming into the evening time. I get up early in the morning. I have busy days generally. If I'm not at work, then I'm helping to look after the kids, or we're doing stuff with the kids. And I like to exercise most days. The evening routine's quite busy, trying to get three small kids to bed, tidy up the house, and then often you're running on fumes by the time you get into early evening. So I'm looking to try and go to bed well, as soon as possible, really, to be honest. So it's not a very rock and roll lifestyle. And I know that, if things come up of an evening time, that's the time where I'm far less likely to actually do them. So there's something about identifying points in the day where you're more likely to get stuff done. So I know that I'm far more productive in the mornings than I am in the evenings these days. Used to be a night owl, I'm now not. Um, so identifying that kind of prime part of the day is really, really important for you. So like at the weekends or days off or holidays, I know that I will be far more productive in the mornings. So I will plan to try and have a productive morning. And then, especially the weekends or days off with the family and stuff, I will try if I can, to have slightly more chilled afternoons, like watch a film with the kids, go and do something with the kids or the family. So yeah, the sort of energy levels and time of day is one thing. Oh, my battery is running low apparently. We'll just keep going for now and see how we go. The next thing is about expectations, I suppose. So are you a perfectionist? So if you're a perfectionist, that can be one of the symptoms where actually you then start to not start things in case you won't do them perfectly, or you might not start them and you might not finish them. So are you measuring yourself by an appropriate standard? Um, and then another aspect of this is you just have to you're a bit overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that you have to do, and that can happen if you're a perfectionist. That can just happen if you struggle a bit with prioritization skills. So in that kind of situation, and that happens to me sometimes as well, just because of the way my brain is wired. So then you need to try and consciously go, right, I feel overwhelmed. I'm taking a step back, or I'm zooming out. So you're stopping, introducing a pause, and then you have to identify, right, what's the very next thing I have to do. So my brain, when it gets overwhelmed, wants simplicity. I don't know about everyone else, but I then need to try and consciously stop and take a step back and go, right, I'm getting overwhelmed here. I'm not doing anything any justice, and I'm putting things off. What is the very next thing that I have to do? Okay, right, that's the thing that's in front of me. That's the thing that I have to do, and I focus on that. And this is a work in progress for me, because I'm doing this at the moment in my job. Is that I am thinking too far ahead. I'm thinking about the next thing that I have to do. How quickly can I do the thing that I'm doing at the moment to get on to the next thing? And I need to consciously remind myself to kind of zoom back out and focus on what I'm doing in the moment. And then the last thing really is very kind of, well, the last couple of things is a bit about your relationship with the selves, which I've talked about in another video. So sometimes we put things off because we go, that's future Andy's problem to worry about. And actually, just little things that you do now can just reduce so much resistance for your future self, who, let's not forget, is essentially you. It's going to be you fairly soon. So using things like the 2 minute rule can be quite handy. So if that task is going to take you less than 2 minutes to do, then just do it then. Don't put it off. And as always, these things are a habit. So the more you do them, the easier they'll get. Okay, so that is my thoughts on procrastinating in a nutshell. Let me know whether you're a procrastinator or whether you're a reformed procrastinator, and what your favourite strategies for getting past it are.